The use of marijuana in the United States took a big hit today. The federal government announcing a huge change to its policy on pot. It could mean efforts by states toward legalization could go up in smoke. Attorney General Jeff Sessions is rolling back Obama administration rules that basically let the feds look the other way when it came to marijuana enforcement in states that have legalized it for recreational or medicinal purposes. Today's change now has a lot of people across the nation who use marijuana wondering what is next and if they could face arrest. Joining me now, CNN correspondent Tom Foreman to do a little bit of explainer about this policy, an Obama-era policy rolled back by Sessions, effective immediately. Tom?
Well, it's effective immediately. It's not clear how effective it will be. We've already had a statement out of the U.S. Attorney for the District of Colorado saying it will really mean nothing different in enforcement right now. They're still going to focus on the people who pose the greatest threat to society, and that's sort of a wink and a nod at the idea that they're going to go after people who are criminally dealing in this, because Colorado is one of a handful of states that have gone to full recreational use of marijuana being legal. It's now a business that's worth well over $1 billion a year there, producing hundreds of millions of dollars in tax revenues. So obviously people from that state are pushing back, saying this is not right, especially considering that we now have 28 states and the District of Columbia and Guam and Puerto Rico that have all approved some form of marijuana legalization over the past couple of decades. That's clearly the trend. And Gallup found last fall that 64% of Americans want to see some kind of legalization.
Yeah, the tide, the opinion tide is certainly changing. And obviously Californians paying very close attention to this in the nascent stages of recreational marijuana, only a few days old. Why now? And why is this happening? This has been an issue long close to the heart of Sessions, has it not been?
Well, it has been for Sessions. The strange thing is President Trump was asked about this when he was campaigning as candidate Trump. He was asked in Colorado, and he very explicitly said, no, I think the states should decide this. This should not be a federal issue. Now, you can only guess that part of what he's run into here is some of the very conservative part of his party, or the wing that supported him, saying that they're very much law and order, and their idea is no, the federal government can't just look the other way and let the states do this. Either you pass a federal law that says it's not against the law, or you enforce the law. So there's not an unfounded argument there on the behalf of the sort of law and order crowd on that front. It is a little strange, though, with the president having said explicitly he was not going to do this, and now he's doing it.
Well, especially when you talk about the fact that Trump's platform has long been less government, federal government oversight, right? And to have his guy, Jeff Sessions, sort of drawing a line in the sand and saying, except for here, do you expect that that's going to be a conversation between the two?
Well, the thing that we always wonder about with this administration is how much conversation took place before this happened, or did it take place? Is this something that Jeff Sessions decided that he should do, and the president is now just learning about it, or did they have a conversation? Or, like so many things we hear about in this administration, did they have some kind of a conversation where Sessions came away saying, okay, he's behind me, and will he still be behind him? Because we've also seen this president respond when there's a lot of backlash on something like this to say, no, that's not what I ever intended. So I think it's going to have to play out. For those people who are out there worried about their livelihoods if they work in this business, or whether or not they're going to be arrested, though, it doesn't look like at the moment that that's going to change dramatically all of a sudden. But, if it's your business, it's something you count on for medical reasons, the fact that it may not change this week doesn't make you worry about next month.
No, and that's the thing. You have to be very forward-thinking if you're reliant on it medically, or if you are a business person, for sure. You have to look at the forecast of what your year ahead looks like. All right, Tom Foreman, always a delight to speak with you. Thanks so much.
My pleasure, Michaela.
What does this mean to everyday users who legally purchased under state law? And what about the dispensaries and the growers that supply them? Could we see a wave of arrests? Ahead, we're going to speak to a lawyer who knows all about this, coming up in our next hour. The U.S. federal government announcing a huge change to its policy on marijuana today. It could mean the movement by states toward legalization over the last few years could go up in smoke. Attorney General Jeff Sessions rolling back Obama administration-era rules that basically let the feds look the other way when it comes to marijuana enforcement. In response, The National Cannabis Industry Association says, in part, this news from the Department of Justice is disturbing, especially in light of the fact that 73% of voters oppose federal interference with state cannabis laws. Today's change, understandably, has a lot of people across the nation who use marijuana wondering, what is next? How does this play out? Joining me now is attorney William Kroger. He specializes in marijuana cases. So glad you're here. Happy New Year. Big news, right? Big news. And then suddenly today, more news.
Yes, it's kind of like Bitcoins, up and down, and changes every day.
It does change every day. So how concerning is this? And is this going to, for example, let's say we're an everyday pot smoker here in California and Colorado. Is this going to change things for them?
It could, depending on if they're a recreational user or if they're a medical user.
Yeah.
If they're a medical user, there's another memo that came down in 2009. It was called the Ogden Memo. The Ogden Memo said if you unequivocally follow within state guidelines and you're a valid medical marijuana user, the federal government is really going to not bother you at all.
So be more lenient.
Be more lenient.
And you think that will be the case even with Sessions now?
I think that probably will be the case with Sessions. There is headway as far as medical marijuana and the efficacy of its use and how it's helpful in treating cancer patients. So they may only go after the recreational end. They may go after both.
It's still that's still kind of up in the air, though.
It's completely up in the air, especially since we have a brand new, well, in California's Central District, we have a brand new U.S. Attorney, Assistant U.S. Attorney, who was just appointed yesterday. I believe her name is Nicola Hanna.
And it remains to be seen how she is going to...
We know she's very pro-prosecution. We've heard that she's prosecuted a lot of big drug cases, so maybe this is in alignment with Sessions rescinding the Cole memo.
Right. So then that's the everyday user. What about the big business, right? So you think about the big business that has now sprung up in California, that's been well underway in Colorado, a lot of money being generated there because of recreational medical marijuana sales. The dispensaries, the growers, how could this affect them? Because federally, the penalties are pretty stiff.
The penalties under the federal law are very stiff. For instance, if you have 100 kilos of marijuana, it's a 10-year mandatory minimum. You know, it could be. You can break it down or you can lower that, the possible prison sentence. If you have 1,000 kilos, it's a 10-year mandatory minimum. I'm sorry, did I say 10-year or 5-year? It's 5-year if it's 100.
Okay.
100 kilos is a 5-year.
Right.
So under the federal law, the penalties are very stiff. Under the laws in California, if you had 100 kilos of marijuana, it's a misdemeanor.
Right.
So,
do you anticipate a legal fight? This is, as you said, it's changing day by day. It's far from over.
It's far from over, but I don't know what kind of fight the state is going to put up. I mean, I think they will stay the course. I think the people of California have voted in. It's, you know, both of the ballots have been initiatives, so they voted for medical marijuana and they voted for recreational use. So I think the California government will support the people.
Okay. William Kroger, we'll have you back, because I feel like this isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Really a delight to meet you. Thanks for making time for us.
Thank you.
Mark your calendars now, folks. We have a royal wedding upon us. Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, their wedding date, only 100